I'd like to recognize, I did not see her because the TV is in the way, our District 7 Commissioner Raquel Regalado, my good friend, who is here to address A-12, A-13, and I-7, and after that I will address pickleball.
Wow. Thank you. I can stay for pickleball. Have you played pickleball?
I have. It's a good time. We're trying to find ways to
Yes,
not only accommodate it, but to.
I'm hungry.
Well, I'm working with the city of Miami on pickleball, so if you guys want to work on pickleball, like, I'm in. I'm a fan. We actually did a survey at the county, and we found that 67% of all the people that play pickleball live in District 7. I know. That's very impressive. It appears that pickleball is like a thing.
You never cease to amaze me with the stats.
Now I'm going to challenge you to a game of pickleball.
Let's do it. We'll
Now
do it for
you and I-
charity.
You know what we should do? We should play doubles.
We'll
you
do
and
it.
me. We should take on other people.
I'm in. We'll take the vice mayor.
Awesome. All right, we're going to do that. That sounds wonderful. Well, first and foremost, it's always a pleasure to see you all. Thank you for taking the time to talk about this very important topic. And I'd like to recognize a few folks that are here. Obviously, you know our friends from Crystal Academy, and UMNSU Card, and then the Austin Foundation is also here. So you'll be hearing from them a little bit later on. And I want to thank you for the recognition of Disability Acceptance Month. At the county, this is the second year where we actually designate this Disability Employment Month. And I know that last year I talked to you all about what we were doing to start this conversation about employability. And my report last year at this time was about the education of county departments. So we went department by department. We started with our amazing library system, educating all of our employees and creating a toolkit and a website for parents that have autistic children in particular, but really having a broader conversation about adults with disabilities. But then we went on to parks, transit, emergency management, fire, and police. And I always give you props for really leading the charge for the education of police. We used the model that you all have that we started years ago here in Gables. Back when I was a school board member, we were talking about this. And now I'm happy to report that thanks to UMNSU Card, we've been able to do all this work. We've literally taken Michael Alessandri hostage at the county. We rarely let him out of his office to do this work, but we're very excited about how many employees we've been able to educate, and it's just had such a wonderful impact on county culture and these conversations about adults with disability. So the first step really was the education piece, you know, no shocker coming from a former school board member, right? And then the second part is really the engagement piece. So this year, we're really talking about the need to employ adults with disability, the difficult statistics and how caregivers and employers have to work together to provide these opportunities. So really to change the conversation from disability to ability, right? Adults with disabilities have amazing abilities. They have a tremendous amount of value. They are resilient. They are creative. Here's a shocker. They want to work, which in today's environment is a very novel thing. They want to be there, they want to work, they have a tremendous work ethic, and it really helps with their self-esteem. So right now in the state of Florida, only 20% of adults with disabilities are employed, and of those, 60% are employed part-time. So what we're looking at now is changing that conversation and providing the adequate education and support so that we can do this work. As many of you know, there are organizations that have been doing this work for a while, and what I've done is asked Miami-Dade County to lead by example. And I know that you all do some of this work also, but obviously we have a much bigger workforce and areas where folks can transition into other careers. So we launched this month Employability 305, which is going to touch every single department of Miami-Dade County. We're going to provide vocational training and placement, and we're going to pay for internships for adults with disabilities. So we're working with different organizations. If you know anyone that's interested, if you have caregivers, and we're also going to be doing outreach with many of these organizations to get these adults on board, everything from the learning experience to Easter seals. I'm actually going to be at an event later today celebrating Easter seals. They partnered with the Greater Miami Convention and Visitors Bureau, who has been amazing throughout this process. And now at all of their conventions and events, the greeters are adults in the spectrum that graduated from the Easter Seals culinary program. And for them and for their families, it has been life-changing. And so I really want you all to consider the impact that this can have and really talking more about our abilities. I can tell you as a parent of 2 children on the spectrum that I want my children to be valued. I don't want my children to be pitied. And I think that the mindset that we have to change is that. I think that when we look at neurodivergent people in particular, or we look at adults with disabilities, the first reaction is pity and a desire to help. And we have to change that dynamic to really one of providing an opportunity. And in a world where everyone's talking about diversity and inclusion and the benefits of diversity and inclusion when it comes to ethnicity and gender, I challenge you to consider the importance of intellectual diversity. These people think differently. We are neuronormal, they are neurodivergent, but that doesn't mean that they are less valuable than us. In fact, I would challenge that and say that in many cases, they're more valuable than us. I can tell you from my personal experience living with 2 neurodivergent people, they have made me a better person, they have made me a more patient person, they have made me a more creative person, and they have taught me so much about their perspective. And whether it's in a boardroom or in a work environment, they add an amazing perspective, not just for the people like them, but for people like us who have a tendency to not see outside the box. So really, the next few months is going to be about launching this program, about providing these opportunities and seeking partners that want to do this work. And then beyond the internships, finding them permanent placement, and really getting families to understand that in the trajectory of special needs, a job is a reality. A job is not a fantasy. A job is not a dream. Our jobs are so innately tied to our identities that to have an adult that can never consider that really is damaging for our community. So I want to thank you all for your support. Coral Gables really has led the charge on this in so many ways, and you support so many wonderful organizations that do this work. And I just hope that you can help us spread the word and really talk more about employability and how we need to provide all adults with disabilities, whether it's physical disabilities, it's neurological disabilities, or it's a combination of both, with opportunities, and really eliminate the stigma, right? So from ADD to ADHD to autism to epilepsy, there's so many stigmas associated with neurodivergence. And we as a community, I think, need to choose to do things differently. Many of you were born and raised in Miami-Dade County, and one of the things that I remind people is that for those of us who were born and raised here, diversity didn't just happen here. We chose it. We chose it as a community. I remember the 70s very well. I remember what it was like to be raised in a county where my parents told me not to speak Spanish. I remember how difficult it was to be an exile here. And as a community, we decided that that was not our path. We decided to embrace people and to really make diversity our calling card. And we've done that in so many ways in terms of ethnicity. And now I would like Miami-Dade County to lead in terms of accepting intellectual diversity and providing opportunities for adults with disabilities. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Commissioner. Well, I know you were busy today. I know you have a lot of things going on with the county, but we had the pleasure of having some of our favorite residents who are here today.
My favorite too.
They were here helping us out, and they actually received a proclamation. Project Victory was here this morning, and let me tell you, they're such a breath of fresh air when they're here working in City Hall, because they're working. They're working something as simple as a task, of greeting somebody at the front door and reminding them to take their temperature. We take those tasks for granted. And I think that when somebody walks in the door, whether it's an employee or whether it's somebody who's coming to do or conduct business here in the city, that gesture, that touch it's just something that sets a tone for the day. And I value that so much. I get such a kick out of it every time I get an interaction with them in the morning. And they're engaged in a litany of different things here in the city. So it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing.
Thank you. Thank you all for your support. You've always really led on this. And we hope that we can partner in the future and do more and get other cities to follow your footsteps.
Commissioner.
I just want to add that, growing up here in Dade County and growing up in Coral Gables, especially the youth center, in the early 1970s, what was unique about Coral Gables, and in particular the Parks and Recreation Department, that we had several young people, teenagers that were, I guess back then, were not identified as autistic, but nowadays we would know. But there were several, and the City of Coral Gables and the Parks Department had programming for them. And they were treated with respect, with dignity, and they were made to be part of the larger community that we had. So imagine going back to that, early 70s, Coral Gables was already in the forefront of doing a lot of these things, but I commend all of you because this is the only path forward. So kudos to your hard work and everyone's hard work in making this possible.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Commissioner,
Yes.
I just admire the drive that you have to push this forward, and I welcome it, because having in my own family 2 people that are disabled and having represented individuals with disabilities for a good chunk of my career, I can tell you that having a purpose in life is so critical for so many people that when you lose it, you don't realize the emotional toll it takes on someone. And then the other aspect is we all learn being able to interact with these very special people so much more about ourselves in the process. And they have some amazing skills that we all have to admire. I have the resolution, and I'll proudly read it in, and thank you again for all your efforts.
My pleasure.
Anybody else for any comments? Or
No, go ahead.
okay. Whereas National Disability Employment Awareness Month, NDEAM, I guess, NDEAM, is that the way you say it? Originally enacted by Congress in 1945, is recognized in October to commemorate the many contributions of people with disabilities to America's workplaces and economy. And whereas the theme for National Disability Employment Awareness Month for 2022 is disability, part of the equity equation, in recognition of important role people with disabilities play in a diverse and inclusive American workforce. And whereas the City of Coral Gables embraces the diversity, culture, and contributions of individuals with disabilities in employment and all aspects of city life, and strives to continue to improve the lives of people with disabilities by adopting legislation and implementing policies that enhance accessibility, inclusion, and equity. Whereas the City of Coral Gables reaffirms its commitment to become an inclusive, equitable, and accessible city and a model for all others in employment and all aspects of city life. And whereas the city, together with the Coral Gables Advisory Board on Disability Affairs, urges our residents to join them in this annual nationwide campaign to recognize the needs and rights of all individual in employment in all aspects of city life. Now, therefore, I, Ben Slago, as Mayor of the City of Coral Gables, and on behalf of the City Commission and its citizens, and to expand the commitment and to raising awareness and acceptance of individuals with disabilities beyond the area of employment to all aspects of city life, do hereby proclaim the month of October 2022 as Disability Acceptance Month in Coral Gables.
Perfect.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Before we take a
Thank
quick
you.
picture, can we take I-7?
Vote on all 3, right?
Oh, I think, are we voting on all 3 or just one? I-7.
I said, yeah.
Can I get a motion on I-7?
Move it. Second.
Vice Mayor Mena,
Yes.
Commissioner Menendez.
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson,
Yes.
Commissioner Force.
Yes.
Mayor Lago.
Yes. Can we get a quick picture
But-
with our commissioner?
By the way, in terms of employment, if you go to the Coral Gables Youth Center where the patio area is, where they have gymnastics, there's a plaque. And the plaque is the image of a person named Barbara Bine. She worked 50 years for the city of Coral Gables, 50 years as a counselor. She was wheelchair bound, almost 100% quadriplegic. She could use her hands. For 50 years, employed by the city of Coral Gables, the matriarch of the youth center, and a mom to so many generations. So 50, half a century, wheelchair bound, she made a difference in everyone's life.
That's
Beautiful.
amazing. Thank you.
Sitting too long.